Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Unknown Emote episode 3. I'm your host, Amir, along with my co host, Lawrence.
Yo, good things come in threes.
Like what?
I'm so
I don't
confused.
I don't know. I mean the number three, three geese not three geese laying, three French hens.
Get the hell. All right, you're done already. I'm cutting you off. My other co host, Doug.
I
Please tell me you have something better to say than good things come in
I'm
threes,
just
and
gonna
then not have
completely avoid saying anything other than what I'm saying right now because I don't want to look that stupid.
Hey, somebody's gotta. It might as well be me.
Like, usually we just let Doug do it. He digs himself into a hole. I guarantee you it's going to happen at some point. Maybe not right now. It's going to happen later. Like when he starts talking about Florida State and then how they're going to get beat by Clemson.
There's a chance. There's a chance.
Yeah. There's definitely more than a snowball's chance in hell. So, anywho, if you are not familiar with Unknown Emote, we are a podcast all about MMOs. We're going to be covering the latest and greatest MMOs, new things, old things, and going through playing them and then making fun of people and then beating the shit out of people in PvP and things of that nature and then laughing about it.
I would like
Or
to
laughing at
put on
ourselves.
record that Amir actually stated that he's not the best at PvP, he's just the best at shit talking. So anytime he makes any future statements about how good he is at PvP, keep that in the back of your mind, everyone listening.
Oh,
We'll have
shots
coverage of
fired.
this.
Shots
Actually
fired.
happen. Just because my verbal PvP is a little bit better than my in-game PvP, don't take that as I'm a slouch. Anywho, this week we are going to be talking about some stuff on the horizon. I'm going to be away for the weekend, so we're actually doing a little bit of double coverage here. We're going to have a little bit of a shorter episode maybe than we normally have, but we're going to be talking about Elder Scrolls Online and EverQuest next. Two MMOs suspected to be on the horizon for 2014. The future WoW killers, I guess. I don't know.
Dun dun dun.
Dun, dun, dun. That's usually a death knell when somebody says it's going to be the WoW killer.
Yep.
But anywho, I'll let you take this away, talk a little bit more background about these. Doug?
All right. Elder Scrolls Online is put out by Sony Online Entertainment. As
No,
broad,
no,
probably every what?
no,
Huh? No, no,
Nope.
no.
no.
Fail. Let's hit it. Rewind. Who they put out by now?
Yes. I don't know. I'm reading the notes that are right in front of me, and that's
ZeniMax. ZeniMax.
ZeniMax. There. Okay. So they're put out by ZeniMax because Bethesda is a thing, and they're part of ZeniMax. That part I knew. They're being led by Matt Fryer. Fire for you, Fiore. I don't know.
Yeah, however you say his last name.
Yeah, however you say his last
That's
name.
your name, dude. If you do come on our show in the future, you can correct
Yes,
us. I don't
yes.
know.
We will gladly let you call me an idiot for not being able to say your last name, so I'm okay with that. He was one of the main developers for the Dark Age of Camelot.
Which is widely touted as like one of the best PvP experiences for any MMO ever. If you haven't heard about this from like people who are like 90 years old,
Yes,
you heard it.
yes. Anyways,
Because the internet was around 90 years ago.
No, seriously, it feels like anybody who talks about Dark Ages Camelot is like they sound like back in my day.
They
we
need
had
that
this game
that
called,
Pepperidge
Dark
Farm.
Ages of Camelot, and
Yes.
it was so much fun.
Yeah.
And we used to kill each other, and we used to take each other's stuff. And more MMOs need to be like that.
It's so true. It's so true. It's like Pepperidge Farm remembers when MMOs were like
Talk
Dark
to
Age of
anybody
Camelot.
about who played Dark Ages of Camelot. Tell me they don't say that to you. I guarantee it's gonna happen. But anywho, continue, Doug. Sorry to cut you off, but that is funny to me.
Hey, that's fine. The other game is EverQuest Next, which of course is the next game coming out. Haha, get it? EverQuest Next. For the EverQuest series. That one is put out by Sony Online Entertainment. I can't
Yay!
Of course, they were the original developers of EverQuest 1 and 2. They also did Dragon's Prophet, and they did PlanetSide 2, which I had a little bit of time playing myself. There is going to be a sub-game with EverQuest Next that is relaunched also, which is going to be, what I hear, very much like Minecraft, and I can't remember the name of that off the top of my head, but I know it's EverQuest Next something. So that's going to be another one. We don't have any firm release dates right now on either of the games, but IGN has said that Elder Scrolls was listed for Q2 of 2004, so we should be seeing that within the next 8 or 9 months or so. EverQuest next is going to be beta testing in our 14, so we are coming up real soon on those guys. What's your initial thoughts on both of the games here, Larry?
I would say that after watching both game footage, which is kind of weird because Cinemax has kind of had their game footage release really down tight, really down on wraps. I know that a couple of people that I follow on YouTube had said that basically some of the video, footage had been released and Cinemax was going around taking it all down. And I would say after seeing Elder Scrolls Online, I wasn't impressed. At the same time, superly disappointed because it looked kind of like an Elder Scrolls game, just a very dumbed down version, for lack of a better word. I mean, the way that it looked and the overall feel, it didn't give me that kind of, oh yeah, I'm excited, as their, pre-rendered videos did of all their content. Whereas EverQuest Next, on the other hand, when I saw that, I was like, oh shit, this looks kind of interesting. I mean, EverQuest has taken kind of, a different look at what they're doing from what I saw. They're kind of going back to that kind of cartoony kind of look World of Warcraft does, and also WildStar's doing. So I was kind of liking that, and it just seemed to me that Sony Online Entertainment was kind of a little bit ahead, understanding that they're not even in beta testing yet, but they definitely looked a bit more polished at this point in time versus ZeniMax and Elder Scrolls Online. What about you, Amir?
I don't know. Part of me is enthralled by the Elder Scrolls series. I've probably poured more hours down that series than any other game except maybe Pokemon. And there's been like 90 Pokemon games. So like I want to play it. It looks like an Elder Scrolls game, but at the same time, I don't need some dickwad in the middle of my game ruining my experience. And the thing is, you can play the whole game solo. So I don't know how I feel about them even making an Elder Scrolls MMO. It looks like an Elder Scrolls game, but at the same time, it just, I don't know. It's something didn't catch for me watching that video. Whereas EverQuest video was like, hey, it's colorful. There's things exploding over everywhere. You got destructible environments and a giant lion monster with a shield and a hammer, and he's just smashing the shit out of stuff. I was like, all right, this looks cool, right? Like you're instantly appealed by all the stuff that's happening on the screen on that particular one. Whereas when I was watching the one for not WildStar, but Elder Scrolls Online, I was like, oh, I could be doing this in Skyrim right now. Why do I need to play an MMO for it? I guess that's the best way I could think of it. How about you, Doug?
I have an outsider's view of both of these games in my opinion. I have never played any of Elder Scrolls games.
Yes.
I've never played. I know. I am
Sheltered
I'm a
child.
sheltered little child. I stick to my couple of games that I know I'm going to enjoy, and that's pretty much it. So I've never played any of the Elder Scroll games. I've never played any of the EverQuest games. And being an outsider looking into them, I can tell you I am way more excited about EverQuest Next than I am about Elder Scrolls Online. Watching the 23 minutes of game footage that was put up with the explanations and everything, I found myself scratching my head and trying to figure out what the hell they were trying to accomplish with the game. And not just once, but multiple times throughout it. Like the whole trying to level up different and mesh together different things and make your character into whatever the hell you wanted to make it, and how that's going to end up balancing out and how that's not going to end up into min-maxing. That didn't make any sense to me for Elder Scrolls, as well as the switching to first person, which I've done some first person in World of Warcraft for kicks and giggles, and it is not a way that you play an MMO. In my opinion, it just does not make any sense. So for them to be basing most of their game off of a first person combat system, which in itself looks clunky, I'm not incredibly sold on. EverQuest Next, however, on the other hand, and all the other things that you could use to compare it, sounds exactly like what I'm looking for in an MMO. It does have kind of that cartoonish feel, which is something I'm very comfortable with and something I'm looking forward to. It's also got more of your kind of standard MMO kind of things to it, where you have your Trinity, and I know that they have talked about getting away from the Trinity a little bit and having more open class systems, but it's still going to effectively come down to the Trinity of tank, heal, DPS. You have this stylistic look to it, to where you can kind of play in a fantasy world, as MMOs are supposed to be a fantasy world, and the whole destructive and recreation of the game, the way that the sub game is going to come out, to where you can effectively just build your own world and then import it into the EverQuest Next and have other people playing in your world, is just something incredibly unique, fantastic, that I am really looking forward to. So Elder Scrolls Online gets a whole meh. I'm gonna give it a chance because I always give everything at least a little bit of of a chance, but I am really looking forward to EverQuest next.
I will say, I mean, that we are looking at very early footage for both of these games. So, I mean, what we saw QuakeCon on Elder Scrolls Online may just be like a vibe of like one dungeon that is still somewhat incomplete. So, I'm willing to give it a little bit of a chance because I really do enjoy the Elder Scrolls series, but they didn't do the most to make it look appealing there, you know what I mean? Like, whereas EverQuest, I got the same vibe that I did when I first saw WildStar. And WildStar, I was kind of pumped when I saw it.
Yes.
That my issue is with not Elder Scrolls, but EverQuest, and I'm not a person who ever played any EverQuest, so I don't know any of the lore behind it or anything like that. But it's SOE, and I played Star Wars Galaxies.
Oh, you poor soul.
Well, when Star Wars Galaxies first rolled out, it was an amazing experience. But then they patched it, and then they patched it again, and they ruined the game. And a lot of people feel the same way I feel, and that was when I left the game. So it like I'm always waiting for them to do something really dumb, if that makes any sense.
No, I mean, I definitely, try and take everything with a grain of salt. That I definitely agree that the gameplay footage it is what it is because it's still in beta or
That's alpha, dude. This is not even
yeah.
beta.
Well, I mean, for Elder Scrolls, it's beta. I mean, they've got some beta sign up. I could be completely wrong, but I mean, I know that the alpha is definitely for EverQuest because I know a few people that are playing beta and they said it basically looks the same that it did at the QuakeCon. So
Right.
that kind of worries me a little bit. I mean, when I looked at the Elder Scrolls and I was watching it, I was like, okay, this definitely feels and looks like an Elder Scrolls game does. Just at the same time, there wasn't something there I was like, oh wow, that just looks so good, that looks so amazing, which is what they've kind of toted it as. That oh, this is going to be the most awesome experience ever because you're going to be able to play Elder Scrolls and you're going to be able to play with friends, and that never ever been something that I've ever thought to myself while I'm playing Skyrim. Like, you know what? I really wish Mira and Doug were here because they would totally be sneaking around the corner with me and not just Leroy jinking it out for me.
Oh no, I would be Leroy Jenkins.
Yeah, yeah, they're totally not going to do this for me. I would say that, I mean, to be honest, when I was watching the Elder Scrolls, I kind of got the feel that it was almost semi Guild Wars-ish, in that you could flip around and that they're like, oh, we don't want to have standard classes and we don't want you to be restricted and stuff like that. Whereas watching EverQuest, and I understand that the EverQuest game footage is probably not really what it is, but at the same time, when I looked at that, there were just a few things that they said where I was like, oh my goodness, I'm gonna have to try this out. Destructible environments, the different tiers. That hey, if a boss comes up and hits me and I block, that it implodes the air around me. I was like, okay, that's pretty badass. I've yet to see an MMO kind of appeal to that Minecraft cult, and I definitely feel that when they said, hey, we're gonna be able to let you in and you're gonna be able to build the game world, I definitely feel that they're gonna get those Minecraft people that don't play other games that are gonna want to play EverQuest next because it's just like Minecraft to an extent, but you're gonna be able to rebuild the world. And I understand that Sony Online Entertainment is bombed a few other games. Dragon's Prophet, I've kind of dabbled in that a little bit. Just nothing is really like, oh my goodness. It's one of those things that I really feel like this game, they've kind of like, okay, forget it. We're going to hit the reset button with what we've done in the past, and we're really going to, make it something different. What about you, Doug?
Well, I think kind of picking off that Sony Online Entertainment idea is if you look at PlanetSide 2, which is, if I recall correctly, their most recent major launch of a game, I actually have a buddy who is really big into PlanetSide 2, and he loves it. He thinks they've been handling it perfectly. So there is a hope that Sony may get their stuff together and bring this into kind of what is expected from the MMO community. Because I know we are a very tough bunch, and if you take our game away from us, we will turn on you in a heartbeat. So it is definitely something that they need to be cautious of, but I think it's something that they're aware of. Thoughts about the gameplay? What was that, Amir?
Reputation. No, you're talking about as far as Sony's reputation.
Yes.
Yeah, well, I agree with that because back when my game community Madcast were first getting into PlanetSide, they actually took the time to do a community spotlight on us, and we had a ton of people playing, and they had a couple of people from their group actually streaming that to them. So they actually have taken some effort into building back their reputation up. So I'm not saying that that they'll stay or that idea of them being terrible is going to stick for me, but it's still there. You know what I mean? It's like someone who's had a Dell computer that's being a piece of shit. Like, not not all Dell computers are pieces of shit,
Just most
but
of
once you've had one piece of shit Dell computer, you don't find yourself really wanting to go back to a computer from Dell. I don't know.
And next week we will be announcing that Dell is no longer sponsoring us. That not
Yeah,
first place.
exactly.
All right, so moving on
Oh,
from
I
there.
was gonna say, is Doug done?
Yeah, I'm done.
I'm cutting them off
I
anyway.
know.
Okay.
Didn't sound
Okay.
like I had a choice on that matter.
My bad. My bad.
Let's talk about the gameplay in the game. Like, start off, I guess. When I saw the trailer or the gameplay footage from EverQuest Next, I don't know which one of y'all were listening to me. I see this lion thing, and he just jumps into the middle of all these little tiny monsters, and he just starts spinning around, and everything dies. And I was like, he looks so OP, but it looks so cool at the same time. Like, while he's spinning, he's literally taking out chunks of the wall. There's a hole in the ground where he jumped down at. I was like, all right, so that is visually appealing at the very least. And I'm a big melee character, like in almost everything I play. So jumping in the middle of everything and spinning to win sounds like a pretty amazing prospect. Even the mage character, she did a little thing that reminded me of the siren character in Borderlands. She brought everything in and they all just exploded. I was like, all right, that's fucking cool. So gameplay wise, it looks cool. Like I said, though, like you said, Lawrence, we aren't looking at necessarily what actual player footage is going to look like, just some of the gameplay. Whereas in the Elder Scrolls game, we're actually looking at gameplay footage. And I mean, if you ever played an Elder Scrolls game, it had that Elder Scrolls vibe. You had the person throwing magic missiles and shooting arrows at the
Yeah.
same time. If you played an Elder Scrolls game, it's not something that would be unfamiliar to you. And that is appealing to me in that way because I very much enjoy Elder Scrolls games. It just, like I said, it was something there that just didn't catch me. Like I felt like everything that was happening there, I could have been doing on my own.
No,
I don't know.
yeah, I mean, I definitely agree that, I've loved Skyrim. I've dumped countless hours into Skyrim, and I don't want to even acknowledge how much time I've dumped into Skyrim. But at the same time, watching it, it definitely looked like a Elder Scrolls game, so I don't want to take that away from it because it definitely looked like an Elder Scrolls game. But at the same time, there wasn't something that they showed where I was like, oh man, I gotta play that.
Yeah, it was no blow your mind moment
Yeah,
in the gameplay
where
footage.
when EverQuest Next and they showed my favorite part was when it showed that kind of semi boss or mini boss and it hits like the lion thing and it blocks and they fall through and they go to the next. There's that other big boss. I was like, oh, that's pretty badass. I mean, that immediately was like, oh man, I can't wait for this game. I've got to have my hands on it. The way that the characters moved around and were floating through the air, it just looked like enough to where it was appealing. It made me immediately think, man, I wish I was in beta for this game because I would love to get my hands on it. Where Elder Scrolls Online, I was like, okay, I'll just wait for it to come out because there's nothing about this that makes me just I've got to have that kind of thing because I can just go boot up my Xbox and play Skyrim.
Right. And that's the thing with it. I don't know. How about you, Doug?
I think Larry hit the nail on the head, pretty much. When you got done watching the gameplay footage of EverQuest Next, you wanted to sign up for beta, and I know I immediately went and signed up for beta.
Yep.
I did
When I
too.
got done watching Elder Scrolls Online, I just kind of sat there and was like, it's interesting, but eh. And I think that is the big difference between the two right now. Obviously, they are completely different scopes of what they're trying to do with a game, and I know they're at different levels of production. But as somebody who plays MMOs and as a generalist who hasn't played Skyrim and hasn't played EverQuest, one of them pulled me into the game, and it wasn't Elder Scrolls. So that's kind of the big thing that I think is going to really help EverQuest Next is all these people, and I know I'm probably in the minority having never played an Elder Scrolls game, but you two keep going back to, oh, well, it's exactly what it is in Elder Scrolls, and I like that. But from the people who've never played Elder Scrolls, are they going to like that? Are they putting enough thought into dragging these people like me into their game? So that's kind of the one big thing that I'm talking about on the gameplay. I kind of already touched about overall the gameplay on my initial thoughts, because really and truly that's all we have to look at right now. So that's kind of my big issue, which transitions into topic number 3 that we're going to be talking about is what does worry us. And I'm just going to go ahead and repeat what I said. I'm afraid that Elder Scrolls Online is just not going to have enough of a general audience pulling themselves into the game. I think that they're going to have the Elder Scrolls diehards into it. They're going to have some of those people who are looking for kind of a darker, edgier game and don't look cartoonish MMO. But when you talk about the generalistic idea of an MMO and the style and what will draw a larger audience, I think EverQuest Next is definitely going to take that hands down. But that's not to say EverQuest Next is going to be perfect. I have read a lot of things that have talked about the interaction with the world where, okay, you blow a hole in a world. As you kill a certain set of mobs, you can actually force them to move to a different area of the world. Well, what if the next person who comes through with the quest kills X amount of people and moves them to another area of the world? Is it just going to be one little superficial circle of where they're moving all these mobs around to where it's like, okay, well, they're not at point A, but they're at point B, and if they're not at point B, they're going to be at C, and if they're not at C, they're back at A. It's kind of one of those things to where how dynamic can you actually make the world? How much can you actually change the system? And how much can you actually affect the changes that you are actually trying to get out there? If a sub boss comes up and hits the house and knocks it down, and interaction of the house actually hurts your players and whatnot, what's going to stop that house from immediately being rebuilt 15 minutes later when you turn around and come back to that area? Is it still going to be torn down? Is it going to be instanced for your specific character? That's kind of my big question mark on how the world is going to work on EverQuest Next. What about you, Larry?
My big concern is going to be, again with EverQuest Next, I'm not as concerned with Elder Scrolls because it basically to me is going to be a variation of that. I feel like Bethesda and ZeniMax may improve upon it. Other than their new technology, they're doing their mega server and how that's going to plan out. My real concern with that is just if they're going to be able to keep people past that 3-month mark, like we talked about in episode 1. Like, hey, how are you going to keep me here? Whereas, just definitely piggybacking off of you is for EverQuest. My concern is the trolling that would happen with Destructible World. That hey, you get a large enough guild. Say that I invest 40 hours to building a castle or something, and then some guild that I've, inundately pissed off or something decides to just destroy my castle that I've spent all these hours in. To me, there's no real repercussion around that. I guess concern is to how does that be monitored within a way to where it's not overbearing, but at the same time that you're not going to have that one douchebag that decides, okay, I'm going to create this douchebag guild. We're going to go around and blow up everything that you've decided to build.
See, having come from one of the most douchebaggish servers ever to hit World of Warcraft on Deathicus, with guilds like Month Behind and Merciless, everything else that my server has done in Deathicus, I actually look forward to the fact that there would be trolling opportunities like that.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I like the idea of it, but at the same time, does it come at the expense of your gameplay? So say that, they show a clip in the video of them blowing up a bridge, and it's like, okay, well, what if I have to wait till that bridge gets rebuilt before I can go to this dungeon or go to this raid?
That would make me want to punch
Yes,
babies.
and
like I would be very upset.
exactly,
with something like
and basically this guild decides that they're going to get together and they're going to farm this area and not let anybody into this area because they're going to blow up this bridge or something like that. That's really my only concern at that point. And also, I really want to see some real gameplay footage of say 10 or 15 people or even a 5-man, kind of what ZeniMax did, a 5-man dungeon or something that doesn't, to me, look at some point where they've got some $4,000 PC running this game, because that's really kind of the vibe that I got from it. As excited as I was, that was the vibe that I got, was that, hey, they're running this on some, top of the line PC. That's my real concern there. What about you, Amir?
a lot of the stuff that y'all said are dead on for me. My biggest concern with Elder Scrolls is definitely, like, they say you can play the whole game solo, so why wouldn't you? Like, what would make me want to play this game with friends outside of me just having friends to play the game? You know what I mean? I don't know what that is yet, and maybe that's something they just haven't had a chance to actually expound upon. Maybe that's going to come in the future. I don't know. So I'm giving them the benefit of doubt on it, because at the very least, I know that I'm going to play this game simply because I'm Elder Scrolls fan, and that's going to be the same case with hundreds of thousands of people like that are Elder Scrolls fans. They're going to play this game regardless. But what's going to make them want to play this game together? And I haven't seen anything to say, hey, this is why you should be playing this game with other people. This is why you should be giving us $15 a month. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
As far as EverQuest, I mean, millions of people playing EverQuest. So before the game even comes out, we already know that they're going to have an established base of people that are going to play EverQuest regardless. because I'm really the same way you feel about the potential trolling. That worries me. And the destructible environments also worries me. If I don't have the most awesome up-to-date PC, well, what happens when somebody jumps in the middle of a goddamn shitstorm and the walls start breaking and pieces start flying around? What the hell is going to happen to my computer? Like, I know what happens when I jump into World v. World and Guild Wars, and they took almost a year to actually fix how that works. You know what I mean? I'm worried about stuff like that. I don't know if that's just a concern for me, but I know there's many people who don't have like the most decked out, most awesome PCs to run stuff like this. And is that going to be a big bog down to your computer? And like you said, how destructible are these environments? How much changes is this going to make you go through? Like, if I have to go 10-minute walk out of my way because some monster blew a hole in the ground, I'm gonna be pretty pissed off. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I know where I was going for this quest, or I'm going to this end, and all of a sudden there's a giant fucking hole in the ground and a giant mini boss, and nobody wants to deal with that shit. Like, that would piss me off. I don't know.
I would enjoy things like that, kind of the converse of what you two are talking about. And again, this goes back to the fact that I never agree with anyone, is if somebody does destroy that bridge, y'all talk about, well, how long is it going to take for that bridge to be rebuilt? And that's kind of the issue. I don't want that bridge to get rebuilt. I blew that bridge up for a damn reason, and that bridge should stay blown up for as long as I want that bridge blown up. If I blow that bridge up, is it 5 minutes before it comes back? 2 minutes before it comes back? If I make a gigantic hole that makes you run 15 minutes to go back to the end, how long is that going to take to be there? Because if it's there indefinitely, I agree that the potential is there for the trolling, which is half the reason why I like it, but it's also a cool idea that, okay, I blew that hole up, and until somebody comes along and fixes that hole is there. And I had the impact on that world. And I think if it goes too much to where you two are talking about, then it's just superficial. It's, okay, I blew up a hole and turn around 5 minutes later and the hole's gone. Okay, well, why did I blow up a hole in the first place?
I don't have the issue is not so much if they're actually going to do it. I want to know how much they're going to, what extent they're going through. Like, if I blow up a house, I want the house to stay blown up until someone actually took the time to build that house brick by brick back up. So like you said, if someone explodes a bridge, yeah, fuck it. I'm pissed that I had to go out of my way. But if I took the time to blow up a goddamn bridge, I want that bridge to not be there too. So I'm with you on that. I'm not disagreeing with you on that. I just don't know if that's something that the vast majority of gamers is going to want to deal with. Like, if you blow up a world and the world disappears and shit that you wanted to do in that world is gone, what do you do now?
And I think a nice kind of compromise for that kind of a situation is to have key areas not be destructible. I mean, it kind of takes away from it a little bit, but in sense, it strengthens the integrity of your game. If there is a bridge that gets to one area that can get blown up and it's a highly trafficked bridge, that takes away from the gaming area, and only people like myself who are dicks will find that funny that they can blow up the bridge. But if they make it to where there's two bridges and one of them can't get destroyed if the other one's destroyed, I'm okay with that. I still get my satisfaction of blowing up the bridge and making somebody turn around the other direction and go down the other bridge. But at the same time, it's kind of like, okay, well, why'd I blow up the bridge in the first place? But I think a nice compromise would be having kind of a semi-destructible world where key places can't be blown up, to where you don't have to worry about that kind of trolling. I think that's something they probably keep in mind and have probably done.
Yeah.
Kind of roll on here to our last bit of the evening, our overall impressions. What are your overall impressions, Amir, from just the initial gameplay?
That I'm probably going to play both of these. This will probably be the time that EverQuest has actually appealed to me enough to play the game. Seems weird that I've been playing MMOs for the last, 12 years or so, and I've never touched an EverQuest game, but this will be the time to make me do it. And like I said, Elder Scrolls Online, I'm going to play it because it's Elder Scrolls. I don't know what else to say. Like, I've dumped in, like, Skyrim. People say they played a lot of Skyrim. If you look at how much time I put into, Morrowind on my original Xbox, it is absolutely insane amount of like, I had one save game with nearly 1,200 hours played on it, and I had another with nearly 600 hours that I looked up recently on my old Xbox, and that was not all of the save files I had, but that's the ones with the most. So that's how much I play their games. So yeah, this will be another story where no matter what they do, pretty much, unless they do some crazy kind of microtransaction thing where I can't wear clothes unless I pay them money, I'm going to play their game. How about you, Lawrence?
I'm in a similar boat with you, but not to that extent. I mean, I'll pick it up just because I've played Skyrim kind of good faith kind of thing. I'm gonna probably pick it up and play until they do something that just overly agitates me, or if the game is broken on release day. And I'm definitely with you that I've thought of EverQuest in the past, since 2004, and I've known of people that play EverQuest, but there was nothing about EverQuest that kind of was like, yeah, I should play that. I mean, EverQuest used to be that game that you heard about people playing that people lost their job over. So there wasn't anything where I was like, oh yeah, I want to pick up EverQuest. Whereas seeing this EverQuest next, I was like, okay, I've definitely got to look at this. This definitely catches my opinion here, or catches my eye rather. It's one of those things that it's hard to kind of gauge because both games are at different ends. But if I was gonna say, if I was gonna sub to one game over another, at this point I would probably sub to EverQuest, where I probably wouldn't sub to Elder Scrolls, because like you said before, Mir, I mean, why would I want to play with people if I can play by myself, which I can do with Skyrim? Whereas I really feel MMOs are something that I would want to play with people. What about you, Doug?
I like playing with myself. I'm just going to throw that
Okay.
out there.
All
So,
And now it's awkward.
Yep.
overall, I've kind of touched on it before. I have absolutely no history with Elder Scrolls. So personally, unless Elder Scrolls Online does something fantastic between now and launch to where I feel like I have to actually play the game, I will probably end up skipping out on it. For this yeah, unless we cover it. That's what I was about to say. For the podcast, I'll probably end up getting it just for the podcast. But beyond that, I have zero interest in the game, really and truly. With EverQuest next, I think that could be my next big MMO. That and WildStar. We haven't really talked much about WildStar. Hopefully we do an episode on that eventually. WildStar really, really, really looks good, and that's kind of the same boat that I have EverQuest next in right now. So it's probably going to end up being a battle between the two of them as to which my next big MMO time sink, going to spend all my money and time playing the game kind of deal.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense.
Yeah.
I'm sad for you that you don't know about
just
like
yeah,
Outer
just a
Scrolls
little
games.
little tear.
Like that makes my heart like
to me
cry a
it's
little
kind of
bit
like
for you.
Fallout. Like I jumped into Fallout 3 and I had fun with Fallout 3, but the entire time I was playing Fallout 3, I'm like, what did I miss from Fallout 2 and 1? Like, why? I really want to go back and play those games, but I didn't want to go back and play those games just to go back and play those games. So I ended up falling off on Fallout 3 because I wasn't invested in the story. And I think that's kind of what I would have to do to be invested in Elder Scrolls, is start like 2 or 3 games back and play from there and catch up. And
I don't feel like you had to do that.
Yeah, you don't really have to do that.
All with Fallout. Like Fallout, truth of the matter is, like you pretty much start your story at Fallout and don't have to worry about anything that came before it, like at all.
Yeah, I felt I needed to. And that's why I don't like jumping into a long series like Elder Scrolls, getting into the 5th game or whatever it is. Like, I'm going to want to play the first 4. I've never gotten into, and I know this is going to kill everybody and it kills me too, I've never played BioShock for the same reason. I missed out on original BioShock and BioShock 2, and because I missed out on those, I've never gotten into Infinite. And I really, 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 really want to play BioShock, but I don't want to play 2 games before to get to the one that's most recent.
I'm definitely gonna have to mail you my BioShock.
You just broke my face.
I know.
Like,
I know. I'm telling you. I'm weird like that. It was the same thing with oh man, what's the other one that
here we go.
No, there was one that I actually went back and did it all. Oh crap, I can't think of it. The one with Shepard, Commander Shepard.
Oh,
why can't I think of the name?
Mass Effect.
Yes, Mass Effect. I played Mass Effect 2 and ended up going back and playing Mass Effect 1 throughout the entire thing, then replaying 2, and then playing 3 because I liked 2 so much. So it's kind of one of those things where I actually felt like I could get invested in the whole series.
I don't even know what to say to you.
I know.
You broke me with the BioShock thing.
Well, let me tell you, when you have something in the ballpark of 600 days played on your main for World of Warcraft, you don't really have time for other games.
I guess that's going to wrap us up and push us forward, right?
Sweet Jesus. Yeah. I suppose we're going to be talking about what, Warhammer Online next show,
Yes.
right?
Yeah, the PvP MMO. Whoop, whoop, whoop.
And I will get to
That's
make a
gonna be
squig herder,
interesting.
and that makes me excited.
Like, how long ago did that game come out?
Oh,
Like,
2000.
That was another one of those WoW killers that everyone
2008. There you go.
2008. So when that game first came out, I had it pre-ordered and I reserved the collector's edition. I played it for 30 days and I stopped playing.
And I had a feeling that was exactly what was going to happen to me, so I just passed on the game.
And I put probably a good 400 hours in that game. So,
How? Oh, I don't know. Some people really enjoy the PvP in it, so
yep.
I'm not hating on you for it. I just.
Oh, I'll explain it when we go over it.
All right.
And if anybody
Well,
wants to send me a copy of the original Bioshock, I do already have Bioshock 2 sitting in my bags. I just don't want to play it until I get done with the first one.
All right, I'll send it your way. I bought the dual pack edition on Xbox. I played through both of them.
oh my God, dude. Oh my God.
That's
Yeah,
I know.
I know,
I
I know.
just, I can't.
I have a
man.
hole in my own heart because I haven't played Bioshock, but I want to so badly. I just haven't been invested enough time into.
I know we talk about
Going back.
MMOs, but Bioshock, like the whole backstory behind all of that, it is one of the most fully realized worlds
Yep.
in any video game. And the short time you even play the games aren't extremely long,
Yeah.
but they do so much in the short time the game's out. Like boggles the mind how you have not played these games. Like I kind of want to just like buy these games and then beat you in the head till they like absorb by osmosis or something. I don't know.
See, but you just said it. I can't get into Bioshock 2. I can't just jump into Bioshock 2 without having played 1.
I would not suggest just jumping into Bioshock 2 without playing one.
Exactly.
Agreed.
Exactly.
Yeah. And then after that, you absolutely have to fucking play Bioshock Infinite.
Yep.
I know.
Yep.
It's a life-changing
Yep, it
experience.
is.
I'm well aware of this. That's just why I haven't done it. I haven't had enough time to invest in the entire series of games.
Okay, so anywho, we're not gonna continue along the Bioshock or beating Doug in the head with it, but I mean, if you want to send him hate mail for not playing Bioshock, you should probably do that. He
Yes,
deserves
or on
it.
Twitter.
Yes, my Twitter handle is twitter.com/thejawa. You can tell me how much you hate me and how much of a terrible person I am for having never played Bioshock and the countless other games that you could probably bring up that I've never played, and I will gladly tell you I've never played. Just make a list and continue to beat me upside the head with them, and eventually I'll start playing them.
I'm sure that there are some of those games that I haven't played, but I'm not going to mention
Yep,
them right now.
me
Let
neither.
them come out in a natural progression.
That's because
I guess.
Amir is a pussy and he doesn't want to
Oh.
admit his faults to the national
You know what?
audience.
I'm going to make it a point to play the shit out of Warhammer just so I can destroy Doug's soul.
Yes.
Not that he has one, but I'm going to try. So, anywho, as always, you can find us at the Unknown Emo on YouTube. Now
Yep.
where you find our podcast / video show thingamabob. We should have a Facebook up within the next week or so, and then we're going to be looking for podcast hosting as well. So we have you able to subscribe to RSS feed on your favorite podcast listening thing.
And I would say by the time that this podcast actually gets uploaded, the Facebook page will already be made. So look for us there at UnknownEmote on Facebook.
Yeah, it'll be Facebook probably / UnknownEmote. So there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think we got anything else.
That's it.
So we shall see you all next week. I'll have a little bit of background on the fun times that I had at Gen Con, and we will be playing Warhammer. So
All right.
you all have a good night.
All right. I'll catch y'all
Say
later.
good night, folks.
Later.
Good
peeps.
night, folks.
Oh, you're so lame. So lame.
I mean, you could have said goodbye, motors. I mean, that would have been lame too, but that's all good.
That would have been pretty bad.
That would have been extremely bad. All right, we're out.